She sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just keeps away from her.
Oh. I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
I was one of two people, maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent. They were both on the line, which means it's something serious. Right. Either you got the job or there's something.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me. Is that
he was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can.
So all along, when we thought maybe Blake wanted the rights, I mean, she might end up being the director, right? But in all utter reality, maybe Colleen Hoover did not want to give up her rights to the second.
Colleen Hoover spent months scheming, plotting, and was dead set on getting Justin Baldoni out of the way to take control of the rights to her book. And believe me, she was straight up wild about it. She didn't care about dragging Baldoni's name through the dirt. Nothing was going to stop her from taking him down. With Blake Lively by her side, she pulled off one of the dirtiest moves Hollywood's seen. She backed Blake's baseless claims and took the project right from Justin like it was nothing. And now, after all that chaos, she's just gonna retire? This is pure evil genius in motion. From dodging responsibility over her son's alleged sexual scandal to secretly plotting behind Justin's back, Colleen's actions have been nothing less than jaw-dropping. But is this really the end of her reign? Or is she just trying to escape the wave of public shame? Hold tight. It's about to get real messy. Let's take it back to 2019 before it all turned into the global sensation it is today. Justin Baldoni saw the potential in Colleen's book and personally reached out to her. They swapped emails where Justin went on and on about how romantic, tragic, and heartbreaking the story was. Justin was all in, way before TikTok blew the book up. And Colleen was loving every second of the attention she was getting. She hit him back fast, excited by his passion and genuine love for her work. She was so invested in him turning her book into a movie, she even suggested that Justin play Ryle, the male lead. Fast forward to casting, and Colleen pushed for Blake Lively to take on the role, saying she was a fan, and Justin jumped on board without hesitation. But Blake wasn't the only one putting pressure on Justin. Colleen had already pulled that move. Justin Baldoni might seem like the easygoing nice guy, but it's about time he stopped trying to please everyone. Here's where it gets interesting. Things were smooth between Colleen and Justin until Kelsey and her dragons rolled in. Then, out of nowhere, Colleen turned on Justin. She switched sides and started backing Blake Lively, who, by the way, hadn't even read the book before landing the role. Blake didn't even know who Colleen was back then. Yet Colleen chose her, no evidence, no nothing, to defend in the middle of all the drama. And when the backlash came in full force, Colleen just disappeared off social media, acting like she had never been part of the mess. But it only got worse. While Colleen was upstairs with the rest of the cast, Justin and his family were literally locked in the basement on that nightmare of a day. Betrayal doesn't even start to cover it. Fans have been dragging Colleen for throwing Justin under the bus, just to raise a bigger name in the industry. And now that it's all blown up, does Colleen have the guts to address any of it? Nah. She just vanishes from Instagram like it never even happened. But hold up, it gets crazier. Turns out, Blake wasn't the only one out of touch with her promotions. Can you believe this? The woman who says her book is based on her parents' real-life marriage actually tried to release an It Ends With Us coloring book. Yeah, you heard that right. A coloring book about real-life trauma, emotional scars, and heartbreak. Fans lost it, and she had to pull that thing down so fast, you couldn't even blink.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me. Is that
he was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies.
People started to suspect Colleen was feeling some type of way about selling the rights to her book before it really blew up, leaving her with a smaller piece of that cash cow she could have had. And of course, Justin wasn't just going to hand those rights back to her after everything that went down. Looking back, it's painfully obvious this was the moment Colleen started holding a grudge against Justin, especially since he was making more money off the book than she ever could after it went viral. But unlike Blake Lively, at least Colleen tried to save some face. She pulled that coloring book off the shelves after fans dragged her for it. But let me tell you, that wasn't even the worst of her ongoing mess. Rumors have been spreading fast about Colleen's son allegedly assaulting a 16-year-old girl he met on Snapchat, knowing full well she was still in high school. The teen says she reached out to Colleen for help, and instead of being the responsible adult she claims to be, Colleen blocked her. Can you even believe that? A woman who writes about abuse and trauma went silent on a victim just because it was her own son involved. How does that make sense in any universe? When Colleen was finally reached out to, she didn't take any responsibility. Nah, instead, she defended her son, claiming the whole story was distorted and that the 16-year-old twisted the facts. We had a conversation about it. I apologized to her, thanked her for speaking up, and even offered to give her our home address and lawyer details if she wanted them. I made sure to hold my son accountable for sending those inappropriate messages. And she said, "Really? That's how she handled it? That's her idea of taking responsibility?" Now, here's the real twist. This is the same woman who built her whole career off writing about survivors of abuse and trauma. But when it came time for her to step up and do the right thing, where was she? Nowhere to be found. Whether it's the drama with Justin, her betrayal of Blake Lively, or the shocking accusations involving her son, Colleen Hoover's looking more and more shady every day. The internet is definitely not holding back this time. This ain't about a book adaptation anymore, y'all. This is about someone who claims to be a champion for trauma survivors. But every choice they make screams the exact opposite. Don't even get me started on how she dipped off social media the second things started getting real. She's acting like someone who can't handle the heat or own up to her actions. Hold on tight, y'all, because we're just getting started. This thing's about to spiral even further. It's gonna end with us stuck in a messy web of problems. And it all leads back to Colleen herself. The receipts are dropping, and with every single one, things are looking worse and worse. Let's get into how Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively allegedly linked up to snatch the rights right out of Justin Baldoni's hands and take the whole project for themselves. It all kicked off when folks were straight up blindsided by Colleen's move. Out of nowhere, she hopped on social media, showering Blake with all this praise right after Justin was accused of allegedly assaulting her on set. But looking back now, it all feels like one big, perfectly timed setup. Colleen called Blake honest, kind, supportive, patient, and even thanked her for being a nice human. Really? Is she serious? Hold up. Let's take a step back and think about this for a second. This is the same Blake Lively who's been accused of running that whole film production into the ground just to grab control for herself. The same Blake who, according to behind-the-scenes leaks, cared way more about the movie's look than staying true to the soul of the book. She allegedly came in, flexing her Hollywood power, bullying her way into getting an entire scene switched up, total and utter chaos. And this is who Colleen calls a nice human? Yeah, that ain't sitting right with a whole lot of folks. The story Blake's pushing about Justin, if it had even a hint of truth to it, there's no way we wouldn't have heard from more people by now. Crew members, cast members, anyone. But instead, crickets. So here's what's really going down. Blake's been leading the charge against Justin and Colleen right there, backing up everything she says. And you know what? Fans are starting to question if Colleen's just trying to play nice and stay in Hollywood's good books.
Oh. I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
I was one of two people, maybe, and then I get a call from my managers and my agent. They were both on the line, which means it's something serious. Either you got the job or there's something.
Now, others are starting to think Colleen got frustrated because Justin wasn't bringing in the type of cash she could have made if someone like Blake had the reins. Whatever the reason, it's starting to look like Colleen made a major mistake, one she might not be able to fix. At this point, Colleen Hoover knows she stirred up this storm herself. You can't just cozy up to the Hollywood elite and think the public's gonna turn a blind eye. Not now. Not when the internet ain't as easy to fool. People are starting to see through all of this, and Colleen's finding out the hard way just how much the public is paying attention. Think about what happened with Jennifer Lopez and other celebs who thought they could get away with anything, only to realize there's always a price to pay. People are waking up, and Colleen's definitely starting to feel the heat. She thought she could pull it off, but it's clear now. She seriously underestimated how much the public sees through these games. And then there's this footage that's raising major red flags, showing Colleen might have been scheming behind Justin's back. During a CNN interview with Blake Lively, when asked about a possible sequel, Blake casually dropped a bombshell, saying she was all in. If Colleen had the rights... Wait, what? Last we checked, those rights were in Justin Baldoni's hands at Wayfarer Studios. So why was Colleen acting like she had any claim to the situation? Sounds a little too convenient, doesn't it? What exactly were Colleen and Blake whispering behind closed doors that the rest of us didn't know? Colleen, all calm and collected, while Blake drops what can only be called a diabolical comment about getting the rights back from Justin? Yeah, that's more than a little fishy, and it felt like a sly hint that Colleen might have been in on some shady plan to snatch control of the movie from Baldoni. And let's not forget, by this point, Colleen and Blake had pulled every trick in the book to get Justin to sell those rights. But Justin, he wasn't having it. And just when you thought things couldn't get any sketchier, what does Colleen do? She quietly launches her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment. Oh yeah, it's all starting to click now. Then, in October, Variety drops a bomb. Another Colleen Hoover movie deal's in the works. She and her partner are starting an entirely new production company to handle adaptations of her books. Now, why would she do that unless she planned on getting those rights back from Justin? Sounds like a whole lot of behind-the-scenes scheming was going down. But wait, there's a big detail we can't overlook. In the very same month, Colleen made a major legal move. She switched to a top-tier law firm, the kind that reps A-list stars like Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. This wasn't just some random business decision. Oh no, this was a calculated play. They were clearly getting ready for something huge, working to strip Justin Baldoni of the rights to her book and hand them straight over to Colleen's new company. Talk about a move that screams too convenient. Now let's start really connecting these dots. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have more money and power than most of us could ever dream of. If they wanted to get involved in Colleen's business, is it really that hard to believe they might have played a part in orchestrating a plan to push Justin out? Think about it. If Colleen and Blake were already scheming in August to get the rights back, but Justin still legally owned them, it's clear something shady was happening behind closed doors. And now, here's where things get really sinister, y'all. Brace yourselves, because we're about to break down why Blake used the harassment claim against Justin. Trust me, it wasn't just a random coincidence. Nah, this was all part of a calculated strategy. And the evidence is sitting right there in plain sight. When Justin first bought the rights to It Ends With Us, a morality clause was built right into that contract. Don't know what a morality clause is? Let me break it down for you. Think of it like how Diddy lost his keys to the city after those allegations came out. When someone gets accused of something shady, especially something serious like sexual assault, the deal's done. And that clause, it was crystal clear. If Justin ever got hit with a sexual assault accusation, the rights to the book would automatically go back to Colleen. And guess who she'd hand those rights to? You already know, Blake Lively. Can you see where this is headed now? Blake's lawsuit against Justin using that very clause? Yeah, that wasn't some random coincidence. They were playing this game smart, throwing at him the one accusation that could legally push him out. Once that bombshell dropped, everything else fell into place. His agency dropped him. The industry turned on him in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, Colleen and Blake were free to do whatever they wanted with the project. That's right, y'all. This was a calculated move, an underhanded business play masked as some number Me Too moment. Now it all makes sense. Colleen Hoover isn't as innocent as she's trying to make herself out to be. And here's one last explosive piece of proof, folks. A whole Reddit thread from someone claiming to be part of the It Ends With Us crew. And get this wasn't some random rumor popping up after the fact. Nah, this dropped a full 4 months before anyone outside the industry even knew there were any problems on set. Sounds like everything was set up from the jump, right? Now let's get into the real details. And trust me, it's gonna blow your mind. Here's the deal. Blake Lively reportedly felt uncomfortable around Justin Baldoni, especially after he allegedly told her she looked SLY in her outfit on set. Meanwhile, Justin wasn't feeling the initial cut of It Ends With Us, so he hired his own editing team to fix it up. Blake, clearly not happy with this, pushed for her own editing crew to come in, but Sony shot her down. Instead of backing off, Blake reportedly threatened to go public with claims of sexual harassment, promising to take the story to the New York Times unless Sony gave her full control of the project. In full-blown panic mode, Sony caved, banning Justin from the studio and handing Blake total creative control. But things didn't go exactly as Blake planned. She brought in her own team of editors, including people who worked with Taylor Swift on her music videos, while she headed off to Italy for another project. And what happened next? The movie turned into a total disaster. Realizing she had a mess on her hands, Blake had no choice but to bring in a professional editor to clean up the chaos. But wait, it gets better. When Taylor Swift found out the film's composer was someone she had a rocky history with, she laid it all out. It's him or me. Sounds like everything was planned from the jump, doesn't it? Let's really break this down. Trust me, the details are about to blow your mind. Here's the deal. Blake Lively reportedly felt uncomfortable around Justin Baldoni, especially after he allegedly told her she looked sexy in her outfit on set. Meanwhile, Justin wasn't happy with the initial cut of It Ends With Us, so he brought in his own editing team to fix things up. Blake, clearly not having it, pushed for her own editing team to come in, but Sony shut that down. Instead of backing off, Blake supposedly threatened to go public with accusations of sexual harassment, saying she'd take the story to the New York Times unless Sony handed her control of the whole project. In full panic mode, Sony caved, banning Justin from the studio and giving Blake complete creative control. But things didn't exactly go as Blake hoped. She brought in her own team of editors, including the crew that worked with Taylor Swift on her music videos, while she jetted off to Italy to focus on another project. And what happened? The film turned into an absolute disaster. Realizing the mess she'd made, Blake had no choice but to bring in a professional editor to try and clean it up. but hold on, there's more. When Taylor Swift found out the film's composer was someone she had bad blood with, she laid down the law. It's him or me. And, surprise, surprise, Sony caved again, firing the composer and throwing even more chaos into the mix. Now, let's step back and take a look at the bigger picture. It's starting to seem like this whole fiasco was planned from the very start. These folks were on a mission to tear down Justin's reputation, all for the sake of greed. If they'd successfully pushed him out, Colleen would have been sitting pretty with her shiny new production company, Heartbones Entertainment, ready to roll, while Blake would have had full control of the project, molding it exactly how she wanted. This entire mess, it reeks of manipulation, power grabs, and pure greed, all dressed up as some moral crusade. Let's talk about the timing for a second. Blake files her lawsuit, Colleen rushes to back her up, then Justin comes back with solid proof. And what does Colleen do? Goes radio silent. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Just as things are heating up, Justin's attorney, Brian Friedman, drops a bomb. He starts talking about subpoenas, hinting that even their private digital messages could be exposed in court. And what happens next? January 22nd rolls around and bam, Colleen's Instagram is gone. Just like that. It's almost like she knew something big was coming down the pipeline and needed to scrub her online presence before anyone could start digging into her history. So the real question is, what exactly was she hiding? This is no longer just about a book adaptation, folks. Oh no, it's about power, control, and greed. Colleen Hoover wasn't content just watching her book get turned into a movie. She wanted more power, more influence, more control over how her story played out on that big screen. And when the chance to seize control showed up, she took it. You can't miss the breadcrumbs scattered all over the place. And no amount of Instagram deletions or digital scrubbing can erase the fact that this situation is starting to look like a well-planned attempt to take down Justin Baldoni. And just when you thought things couldn't get any spicier, the drama thickens. Just when the tension between Justin, Blake, and Colleen hit its peak, guess what? Colleen Hoover is reportedly retiring. That's right, retiring. But hold up, don't start celebrating yet. There's a twist. Not everyone's jumping on the canceled Colleen bandwagon. There are whispers going around that Colleen Hoover might not be the innocent angel she's been portraying. People are starting to wonder if Blake Lively played a much bigger role in all the drama than we originally thought. Could Blake have manipulated Colleen, feeding her stories about Justin allegedly making her uncomfortable on set? Picture this. Blake, looking all distressed, pulls Colleen aside and says, "Girl, I don't know what to do. Justin's been making me feel so uncomfortable. But if I speak up, it could mess up everything we've worked for. I know how much this movie means to you, Colleen. I just want to protect you from the truth." If that's the case, Colleen might have truly believed she was doing the right thing. But hold on, let's zoom out for a second. What if Blake was secretly stirring the pot behind the scenes? Maybe she was whispering to other cast members, like Brandon Schlendler, Atlas, spinning stories about how shady Justin supposedly was, all while hyping up her own career, positioning herself as the hero. Classic Hollywood manipulation, right? Get everyone on your side, throw Justin under the bus, and become the one everyone praises for doing what's right. This situation, straight up Hollywood thriller material, full of backstabbing, manipulation, and power moves at every turn. All right. Just when you think you've got a handle on it, things take a real turn. What if this whole mess isn't about a movie at all? What if Blake and Colleen were playing a much bigger game than anyone realized? At this point, Colleen has basically vanished from the public eye. She's gone off social media, leaving fans out here scratching their heads, trying to figure out what's really happening. Word on the street is that she's starting to regret ever getting caught up in all this, as everything she's worked for is falling apart around her. So, is Colleen really retiring? Or is she just trying to disappear before more dirty secrets come spilling out? You be the judge. Right now, Blake Lively is starting to look like the real puppet master behind this whole disaster. The lies, the mind games, and those perfectly timed allegations, everything's unraveling. If Colleen really is stepping away, it could be because things are spiraling in ways she didn't see coming. One thing's for sure, Justin Baldoni went into this with nothing but good intentions. But Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively, they've been pulling strings from the jump. From Colleen turning on Justin without a shred of evidence, to those low-key moves aimed at stealing Justin's spotlight, you can tell something shady is going down. So what's your take on this? Was Colleen just a pawn in Blake's twisted game? Or did she have some sneaky plans of her own all along? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're always up to date with every shocking revelation and plot twist in this mess, starring a B-list actress, her two sidekicks, and a whole lot of backstabbing. I'll catch you in the next one.